The mining drill bit through the ancient rock like a hot knife through frozen butter. Zekthor clicked his mandibles in satisfaction as the sensor readings spiked. Metal. Lots of it. Deep underground on this dead moon, his crew had found something big. Pull back the drill, he ordered through the hive mind connection. The other Vryn workers obeyed instantly, their insect-like bodies moving in perfect coordination. They had been mining in the frontier reaches for 6 months now, finding nothing but worthless stone and ice. This discovery could change everything. The drill withdrew, revealing a massive metal surface beneath the rock. It was smooth and dark, unlike anything Zekthor had seen before. The metal didn't match any known alloy in the galactic database. His curiosity grew stronger. "Bring the cutters," he commanded. 3 hours later, they had carved an entrance into what appeared to be an enormous underground facility. The structure stretched for kilometers beneath the moon's surface. Emergency lights flickered on automatically as they entered, bathing everything in a dim red glow. The air inside was still breathable after who knows how many centuries. That alone was impressive. Zekthor led his team deeper into the facility. The walls were covered in strange symbols and pictures. His translator struggled to make sense of them. It kept showing partial translations, broken words that didn't quite fit together. One phrase appeared over and over. Terran Defense Station Osiris. Terran, Zekthor whispered. That word stirred something in his racial memory. Old stories. Myths about a species that supposedly ruled the galaxy long ago. But most scholars dismissed those tales as fantasy. There was no proof that humans ever existed. The team moved through corridors filled with ancient equipment. Everything was larger than necessary, built for beings much bigger than the Vryn. In one massive chamber, they found rows upon rows of cylindrical pods. Most were dark and empty, their surfaces cracked with age, but one pod in the center of the room still glowed with a soft blue light. Zekthor approached it carefully. Through the frosted glass, he could see a shape inside. A body. The monitoring systems beside the pod showed readings he didn't understand, but one thing was clear. Whatever was inside was still alive. Impossible, he said. Nothing survives in stasis for more than a few decades. This facility is thousands of years old. His second-in-command, Vixra, examined the pod's control panel. "Commander, the systems are still active. The power source reads at 78% capacity. I've never seen technology like this." Zekthor faced a decision. Protocol said to report the discovery and wait for specialists. But this was the find of a lifetime. If something was truly alive in that pod, he wanted to be the one who opened it. His name would be remembered forever in the hive's collective memory. "Open it," he ordered. Vixra hesitated, then pressed a sequence of buttons. The pod responded immediately, as if it had been waiting for this moment. Steam hissed from pressure valves. The blue light grew brighter. Warning symbols flashed on nearby screens, but Zekthor couldn't read them. The pod's lid slid open with a smooth mechanical sound. Inside, a figure began to move. She was tall, much taller than any Vryn. Her skin was pale, her hair dark and cut short. She wore a black and silver suit covered in devices and equipment. As her eyes opened, Zekthor saw they were a striking blue color, brighter than any gem. The woman gasped, her body jerking as she sucked in air. Her eyes darted around wildly, unfocused and confused. Then something seemed to activate in her suit. Lights blinked on across her equipment. Her eyes became sharper, more aware. She sat up quickly, too quickly for someone who had just woken up. Her hand went to her side, reaching for a weapon that wasn't there. When she saw the Vryn surrounding her pod, she froze. "Identify yourselves," she said in a language Zekthor's translator couldn't process. The woman frowned, then touched something on her neck. "Identify yourselves," she repeated, and this time the translator worked. Her accent was strange, old-fashioned. "I am Commander Zekthor of the Vryn Concordat mining expedition," he said carefully. "You are on moon designation FR7749. We found this facility and opened your stasis pod. Who are you?" The woman looked around the chamber, her expression growing more disturbed with each passing second. She touched a device on her wrist and lights flickered across its surface. Her face went pale. "No," she whispered. No. This can't be right." She looked up at Zekthor. "What year is it?" "What's the current galactic calendar date?" "It is the year 3847 by galactic era counting," Zekthor answered. The woman closed her eyes. Her hands were shaking. 2,314 years. I've been asleep for 2,314 years. She opened her eyes again, and Zekthor saw something fierce burning there. Where is Earth? Where is the Sol system? I don't know what you're talking about, Zekthor said. What species are you? The woman stared at him like he had just said something insane. What species? I'm human. Commander Alexis Kane, Human Defense Force, Special Operations Division. She climbed out of the pod, moving with disturbing grace. You really don't know what humans are? Zekthor felt his squad tense around him. In the hive mind, he could sense their confusion and growing fear. This being moved like a predator. Human, he said slowly. That's a myth. An old legend. There's no proof your species ever existed. Alexis Kane laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. No proof? We built half the jump gates still in use across the galaxy. We established the first unified government spanning 40,000 light years. We fought off 3 separate extinction-level threats. And now we're just a myth? She pressed buttons on her wrist device. Computer station status report. A voice filled the chamber, speaking in that same ancient language. Alexis listened, her expression growing darker. You need to leave, she said quietly. Right now. This station is about to wake up and you don't want to be here when it does. We're not going anywhere, Zekthor said, trying to sound brave. You're coming with us. You're an important archaeological find. The Concordat will want to study you. Alexis looked at him with something like pity.
Study me?
Commander, I'm not some artifact. I'm a soldier, and I was enhanced with technology your people probably can't even imagine. She held up her hand. Her skin seemed to shimmer, and suddenly a blade of pure energy extended from her palm. This is your only warning. Leave peacefully, or I'll make you leave. Zekthor made a decision he would regret for the rest of his life. He sent a mental command through the hive mind. Capture her. 10 Vryn soldiers rushed forward, weapons drawn. They were fast-trained warriors who had fought in a dozen border conflicts. They never stood a chance. Alexis moved like lightning. One moment she was standing still, the next she was a blur of motion. Soldiers went flying, their weapons crushed or torn from their grips. She didn't kill anyone, but within seconds, every soldier was on the ground, unconscious or groaning in pain. She hadn't even broken a sweat. Zekthor backed away slowly, his survival instincts finally overriding his ambition. What are you? Alexis Kane looked at him, and in that moment, Zekthor understood why humans had been so feared. I told you, I'm human, and I think it's time the galaxy remembered what that means. The station began to hum around them. Lights flickered on across the facility. Deep below, massive engines started to wake from their ancient sleep. This wasn't just a base, it was a warship, and it had just found its captain again. Alexis Kane sat in what had been the station commander's office, staring at screens filled with information. The Vryn mining crew was locked in one of the holding cells, unharmed but scared. She had questions and they had answers. The galaxy had changed beyond recognition. According to the data she pulled from the Vryn ship's computer, 3 major powers now controlled most of known space. The Vryn Concordat, where individual thought was rare and everyone connected to a hive mind. The Kelthran Republic, beings made of living crystal who spoke through psychic energy. And the Sorax Dominion, a military dictatorship run by reptilian conquerors. None of them had existed when she went into cryosleep. None of them knew humans had ever existed. Computer, show me faster-than-light travel data, she commanded. The station's AI displayed the information. Alexis felt her heart sink. Modern ships could travel at about 15 light-years per day, and it took them weeks to cross the galaxy. In her time, human ships used quantum gates that made the jump instantly. The technology had been lost. Show me weapons technology. More bad news. The current powers used plasma cannons and missile systems, effective but primitive. Humans had developed reality-warping weapons, gravitational disruptors, and targeted AI warfare suites. All of that knowledge was gone. Show me political structure. This was the worst part. The 3 empires were constantly fighting over borders and resources. Slavery was common in Sorax space. The Vryn absorbed other species into their hive mind against their will. The Kelthrans isolated themselves and only traded when desperate. There was no unified government, no galactic council, no laws protecting the weak. Humanity had spent 500 years building a peaceful galaxy. They had uplifted dozens of species, shared technology freely, and created a federation that spanned the stars. And now it was all gone. forgotten like it never existed. Alexis put her head in her hands. Everyone she had ever known was dead. Earth's sun had gone supernova, destroying the home system. The evacuation fleets had scattered to distant galaxies looking for new homes. She and thousands of other volunteers had stayed behind in cryosleep, meant to be a time capsule, a reminder of what humanity had been. But the galaxy had forgotten them completely. A warning alarm pulled her from her dark thoughts. The station's sensors had detected incoming ships, a lot of them. She pulled up the tactical display and cursed under her breath. 60 vessels, all military-grade, bearing Vrin Concordate markings. Zekthor must have sent a distress signal before she locked down the communications. Now his people were coming to rescue him and capture her. Computer, station status? Osiris Defense Station is at 42% operational capacity, the AI replied in a calm voice. Main weapons offline. Secondary systems online. Power core stable. Defensive shields at 60% maximum. Not ideal, but it would have to do. Alexis pulled up the communication system and opened a channel to the approaching fleet. Vrin vessels, this is Commander Alexis Kane of the Terran Defense Force. You are approaching a human military installation. Turn back now. The response came quickly. Unknown entity, this is Fleet Commander Ralcon of the Concordate Navy. You are holding Vrin citizens prisoner. Surrender immediately or we will take the station by force. Alexis sighed. Why did it always have to be the hard way? Computer, activate point defense systems. Non-lethal protocols only. Acknowledged, the AI said. The Vrin fleet came within weapons range and opened fire. Plasma bolts and missiles streaked toward the station. The defensive shields caught them easily, the ancient technology absorbing impacts that would have destroyed modern stations. Their turn, Alexis said quietly. The station's point defense systems came online. They were designed to protect against enemy fighters and missiles, using targeted electromagnetic pulses instead of destructive weapons. In human space, they had been considered the gentle option for dealing with pirates and smugglers. Against the Vrin fleet, they were devastating. Pulses of energy shot out from the station faster than the eye could follow. They hit every Vrin ship simultaneously, passing through shields like they weren't there. Electrical systems overloaded. Engines shut down. Weapons went offline. Life support stayed active, but everything else died. The entire battle lasted 4.7 seconds. 60 military vessels floated dead in space, their crews alive but helpless. Alexis opened the communication channel again. Fleet Commander Ralcon, this is what mercy looks like. I could have destroyed every one of your ships, but I didn't. Humanity doesn't rule through fear or violence. We defend ourselves, but we don't kill unless we have no choice. She paused. I'm releasing your mining crew now. They'll tell you what they found here. When you report this to your leaders, tell them something for me. Tell them the humans are back. And we remember what you've all forgotten. She cut the channel and began the process of releasing Zekthor and his team. They would need to use the Vrin ship's escape pods to get home, but they would survive. As she worked, Alexis accessed the station's deep archives. There had to be information about what happened after she went into cryosleep. The files were corrupted and incomplete, but she found fragments. Enough to piece together the story. After the supernova destroyed Earth, the Human Guardian Network had stayed active. Automated stations and AI caretakers maintained the jump gates, enforced the peace treaties, and protected developing species. For 300 years, the system had worked perfectly. Then something had attacked from outside the galaxy. The files called it the Swarm. The Human Guardian Network had fought it and apparently won, but the effort had destroyed most of the automated systems. The AI network had gone dark all at once, in what historians now called the Great Silence. Without human protection and guidance, the galaxy had collapsed. Species that had been uplifted weren't ready to stand alone. Wars broke out over resources and territory. Technology was lost as libraries burned and databases corrupted. Within a few generations, humans became legends, then myths, then forgotten entirely. The galaxy had built itself back up, but without the values humanity had tried to teach. Competition instead of cooperation. Conquest instead of exploration. Fear instead of trust. And now Alexis was alone, the last reminder of a better time. Except she wasn't alone, not completely. She accessed the station's star charts and overlaid them with the old human network maps. Dozens of stations like Osiris had been placed across the galaxy, each one a defensive position and cryo facility. If this one had survived, others might have too, others with more humans sleeping inside. Computer, can we send a signal to the other stations? Wake up protocols. Negative, the AI responded. Insufficient power. Each station requires a direct connection to activate wake-up procedures. Long-range communication is possible, but activation requires physical presence. So she would have to visit each station personally. That would take years, maybe decades, with the slow FTL speeds of modern ships. But what choice did she have? She couldn't rebuild human civilization alone. Her console beeped. New contacts on sensors. These ships weren't Vrin. The computer identified them as independent vessels, no military markings. Pirates or smugglers, probably. Word of her little demonstration had spread fast. Alexis pulled up the communication request. A face appeared on screen, not Vrin. This being looked almost reptilian but smaller and less aggressive than the Soraks. They wore civilian clothes and had intelligent eyes. Commander Kane, the being said in careful, accented galactic standard. My name is Torvik. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to help. He glanced off screen nervously. You just humiliated the Vrin Concordat in front of the entire sector. Within a day, every government in the galaxy is going to know humans are real. They're going to come for you, all of them. Together. Let them come, Alexis said coldly. That's what I'm afraid of, Torvik replied. Because if you fight them the way you fought that fleet, you're going to win. And that will terrify them even more. Please, Commander. I study ancient history. I've spent my life trying to prove humans existed. Now you're here, and you're about to start a war that will tear the galaxy apart. Let me help you find another way. Alexis studied the being on her screen.
He seemed genuine.
Desperate but genuine. Why should I trust you? She asked. Because, Torvik said simply, I believe in what your people stood for, and I think this galaxy needs to remember that. Maybe she wasn't completely alone after all. Torvik's ship docked with the station 3 hours later. He came aboard with 3 others, each from a different species. They all looked nervous, like they were meeting something dangerous. Maybe they were right to be nervous. This is Zin, Torvik said, gesturing to a Vrin who stood apart from the others. She's defective. Born with individual thought instead of connecting to the hive. They exiled her. The Vrin Zin bowed her head. It is an honor, Commander. I have read every fragment of human history I could find. This is Mira, Torvik continued, indicating a being that looked like living blue crystal in a humanoid shape. She's a Kelthran scientist. Her people cast her out for asking too many questions about the old ones. You mean humans, Alexis said. Mira's form pulsed with light, which Alexis's translator interpreted as agreement. Yes, your people created wonders we can barely understand now. I want to learn, to remember. And this is Krell, Torvik finished, pointing to a large Sorax warrior. He's a deserter. He refused to execute prisoners and ran. Krell nodded slowly. The Dominion has no honor anymore, if it ever did. My grandfather told me stories of ancient warriors who fought with rules with mercy. I think those stories were about humans. Alexis looked at this strange group. Outcasts and rebels, all of them. People who didn't fit in the modern galaxy. In another time, they would have been exactly the kind of people humanity reached out to help. Why are you really here? She asked. Because 3 major fleets are converging on this location, Torvik said bluntly. The Vrin want revenge. The Kelthrans want your technology. The Sorax want to capture you and make you their weapon. You've got maybe 2 days before they arrive. You need allies. I don't need allies, Alexis said. I need to wake up the other stations. You can't do that if you're dead or captured, Mira pointed out, her crystalline voice ringing like bells. Let us help. We know this galaxy. You don't, not anymore, Alexis wanted to refuse. She had been trained to work alone, to rely on herself. But looking at these 4 beings, she saw something that gave her hope. They were different species, but they stood together. They believed in something better. Maybe that was worth protecting. Fine, she said, but we do this my way. I won't kill unless there's no choice. Agreed, Torvik said, relief obvious in his voice. Over the next day, Alexis shared information with her new allies. She showed them recordings from the station's archives, videos of what human society had been like before the evacuation. They watched cities that floated in the sky, held up by gravity manipulation, parks where children of a dozen species played together, universities where knowledge was shared freely, hospitals that could cure almost any disease, ships that explored just for the joy of discovery, not for conquest or profit. "This is impossible," Zin whispered, watching humans and aliens work side by side on a massive construction project. "How did you keep so many species cooperating?" "We didn't keep them cooperating," Alexis explained. "We gave them reasons to want to cooperate. Education, healthcare, food, shelter, all free. When people don't have to fight for survival, they can focus on building instead of destroying." "Post-scarcity economy," Mira said, her form brightening with excitement. "I found references to this in ancient texts." "I thought it was theoretical." "It was real," Alexis said. "Fusion power, molecular manufacturing, automated agriculture. We had the technology to give everyone everything they needed. So we did." Krell watched a video of human soldiers defending a colony from raiders. The humans won easily, but after the battle they provided medical care to the raiders and offered them jobs instead of prison. "Your warriors had strength but chose mercy," he said quietly. "My people would call that weakness." "My people called it civilization," Alexis replied. The alarm interrupted them. The fleets had arrived early. Alexis pulled up the tactical display and felt her stomach drop. This wasn't 3 separate fleets. It was one massive armada. Over 10,000 ships, all 3 species working together. They were taking her seriously now. "Computer status report," Alexis commanded. "Station at 48% capacity. Shields at full strength. Weapon systems online. Warning: enemy fleet outnumbers station defenses by factor of 800. "I've seen worse odds," Alexis lied. Torvik looked at her with wide eyes. "Commander, you can't fight that many ships." "Nobody can." "I'm not going to fight them," Alexis said. "I'm going to teach them." She opened a channel to the entire armada. Thousands of faces appeared on her screens. Vryn and Kelthrin and Sorax commanders all waiting to see what she would do. "I am Commander Alexis Kane of the human race," she said clearly. "I know why you're here. You want my technology. You want to capture me and use me. You see me as a threat or a tool." She paused. "But I'm neither. I'm a reminder of what this galaxy used to be, and what it could be again." A Sorax admiral spoke up, his voice harsh. "Surrender now, human. You cannot win against this force." "You're right," Alexis agreed. "I can't win a fight against 10,000 ships. But I'm not here to fight. I'm here to show you what you've lost." She activated the station's full combat systems. Not the gentle point defense from before. The real weapons. The ones designed to protect human space from existential threats. The station's sensors painted every ship in the armada. Targeting solutions appeared instantly, plotting the most efficient way to disable or destroy each vessel. The computers identified weak points, calculated firing patterns, projected casualty numbers. Then Alexis broadcast all of that data to every ship in the fleet. She let them see exactly how quickly she could kill them all. 3 minutes. That's how long it would take to destroy 10,000 warships with the technology humans had developed 2,000 years ago. The channel went silent. Every commander in the armada stared at their screens, seeing their own death calculated down to the second. "Now that you understand," Alexis said, "let me show you something else." She reconfigured the sensors. Instead of weapons calculations, she showed them what the station could do for peaceful purposes. Medical scanners that could diagnose any disease, manufacturing systems that could produce food and medicine, communications arrays that could connect the entire galaxy, educational databases containing millennia of human knowledge. "This station isn't a warship," Alexis explained. "It's a hospital, a school, a farm, and a factory. It's what humanity built to help others. Yes, it can defend itself, but its real purpose is to save lives, not take them." She highlighted one section of the display. "I'm looking at your fleet right now. Medical scans show 347 crew members with untreated cancers, 62 with genetic conditions, 18 with parasitic infections. This station could cure all of them in a day. For free, no payment required." More silence. Then a Kelthrin voice spoke up, uncertain. "Why would you help us?" "We came to capture you." "Because that's what humans do," Alexis said simply. "We help even when it's hard. Even when people don't deserve it. That's what makes us human." She took a deep breath. "I'm going to deactivate my shields now. I'm going to power down my weapons. If you want to capture me, go ahead. But before you do, ask yourselves something. What kind of galaxy do you want? One built on fear and conquest, or one built on the principles that my people died trying to protect? Commander, no, Torvik hissed. This is insane. But Alexis had already given the order. The station's shields dropped. The weapons went offline. She sat there, defenseless before an armada of 10,000 ships. For 5 long minutes, nothing happened. Then the Sorax admiral spoke again, his voice different now, uncertain. Human, why do our historical records show your species as conquerors, as warriors who dominated the galaxy? Because we fought, Alexis admitted. We fought slavers and tyrants and things that wanted to destroy all life. We fought hard and we fought well. But we never fought for conquest. We fought to protect. There's a difference, another voice, Vryn this time. If we leave now, will you pursue? No, Alexis said. But I hope you'll stay. I hope you'll talk with me. Learn about what came before. Help me wake the others and rebuild what was lost. Not a human empire. Something better. A true galactic community. The fleet hung in space, thousands of ships waiting for someone to make a decision. Then, one by one, they began to power down their weapons. Not all of them. Some ships turned and fled, too scared or too proud to accept peace. But most stayed. Most chose to listen. It was a start. 3 months had passed since the Armada stood down. Alexis had spent that time traveling to other sleeper stations across the galaxy, waking her people from their long sleep. It wasn't easy. Each station required manual activation, and they were spread across thousands of light years. So far, she had awakened 273 humans. Each one woke up to the same shock she had felt. Everyone they knew was dead. Their civilization was gone. The galaxy had forgotten them. Not everyone handled it well. Captain Marcus Webb stood in the command center of Station Helios, his face dark with anger. He was a tall man with scars on his hands and a bitter set to his jaw. Around him, 30 other humans nodded in agreement as he spoke. They forgot us, Marcus said, his voice hard. We sacrificed everything to save them. We stayed behind while everyone else fled to safety. We gave up our lives, our futures, everything. And they forgot. They destroyed everything we built. Alexis stood across from him trying to stay calm. It wasn't intentional. The Guardian network failed. Without it, they couldn't maintain what we gave them. I don't care about intentions, Marcus snapped. Look at what they've become. Slavers, warmongers, hive minds that steal people's thoughts. They're worse than the enemies we fought against. Some of them, yes, Alexis admitted, but not all. I've met good people out there. People who want to do better. Like your pet rebels, Marcus sneered. A few outcasts don't represent the galaxy. The major powers are corrupt, Alexis. You know it. We have the technology to fix this. We could take control, restore order, make them remember why they should fear human justice. Other humans in the room murmured agreement. Alexis felt her heart sink. She had worried about this. Not every human had believed in the peaceful approach. Even in the old days, some had wanted humanity to rule through strength rather than inspiration. That's not who we are, Alexis said firmly. We don't rule through fear. Maybe we should have, a woman named Sarah chimed in. She had been a tactical officer on a battle cruiser. Look where mercy got us. Forgotten and replaced. The argument had been going on for days across multiple stations. The humans were divided. Some, like Alexis, wanted to help rebuild through cooperation and teaching. Others, like Marcus, wanted to take control and force the galaxy back into order. And then there was the third group. The ones who just wanted to leave. They had lost everything once and didn't want to lose it again. Torvik found Alexis later that evening, sitting alone in an observation room and staring at the stars. Trouble in paradise? He asked gently. My people are scared, Alexis said. And hurt. They're angry at a galaxy that forgot them. I don't know how to fix that. You can't fix it alone, Torvik said. He sat down beside her. But you're not alone. Zin has been talking to other individual thinking Vryn. Mira is teaching Kelthran students about human philosophy. Krell is spreading word among Sorax soldiers that there's a better way to fight. Your ideas are spreading. Not fast enough, Alexis muttered. The empires are watching us. They're scared. Scared people do stupid things. She was right to worry. 2 weeks later, the situation exploded. A group of 40 humans led by Marcus took control of Station Prometheus. They activated its weapon systems and issued an ultimatum to the 3 empires. Surrender your military forces and submit to human authority, or face the consequences. When the empires refused, Marcus destroyed a Sorax military outpost. 300 soldiers died. Alexis heard the news and felt sick. This was exactly what she had feared. Marcus had just given the galaxy a reason to hate humanity again. She took her ship, now accompanied by Torvik and the others, and flew to Station Prometheus. The base's defenses nearly fired on her, but she transmitted her command codes and forced her way through. Marcus met her in the command center, looking triumphant. "Did you see their faces?" he said. "They're terrified. They know they can't stand against us." "You murdered 300 people," Alexis said, her voice cold. "I executed enemy combatants," Marcus corrected. "There's a difference." "No, there isn't. Not the way you did it." Alexis stepped closer. "You just proved to the entire galaxy that humans are exactly what they feared. Conquerors, killers. Maybe that's what they need to believe," Marcus shot back. "Maybe fear is the only thing they understand." "If that's true, then we've already lost," Alexis said. "Because we become no better than the worst of them." The confrontation might have turned violent, but Mira's voice interrupted through the communication system. "Commander Kane, we're detecting something on long-range sensors. Multiple contacts, edge of the galaxy. The signature doesn't match any known species." Alexis and Marcus both turned to the displays. The sensors showed massive objects entering the galaxy from intergalactic space. They were huge, each one the size of a moon, and there were hundreds of them. "Computer analysis," Alexis commanded. The station's ancient AI processed the data and delivered a verdict that made Alexis's blood run cold. "Signature match, 94% probability of swarm classification. Warning. Last encounter with swarm vessels resulted in catastrophic damage to human Guardian network." The swarm. The extragalactic threat that had destroyed the Guardian network 2,000 years ago. The enemy that humanity had barely defeated before the evacuation. It was back. "No," Alexis whispered. "No, not now. We're not ready." "What is that?" Marcus asked, his anger replaced by concern. Alexis pulled up the old records, the ones she had found in Station Osiris. The swarm was a collective intelligence that consumed entire solar systems, breaking down matter to fuel its ships and armies. It didn't negotiate. It didn't communicate. It just destroyed and absorbed. 2,000 years ago, the human Guardian network had fought it across 3 spiral arms. They had won barely by using weapons that nearly tore space itself apart. The effort had destroyed most of the automated systems and left the galaxy vulnerable. Now it was coming back, and the current galaxy had no idea what they were facing. "We need to warn the empires," Alexis said, already moving toward the communication console. "Why?" Marcus demanded. "Let them face it alone. Maybe it will teach them to respect us." Alexis spun to face him, fury in her eyes. "Because if we don't help them, everyone dies. Including us. The swarm doesn't care about politics or revenge. It will consume everything. Every species, every world, every last living thing in this galaxy." She opened a channel to all 3 empires simultaneously. "This is Commander Alexis Kane to all galactic powers. We have an incoming threat from outside the galaxy. My people call it the swarm. It destroyed our automated defenses 2,000 years ago. It consumes entire solar systems. And it's coming here now." She transmitted the sensor data. "You have maybe 3 months before it reaches inhabited space. Your current weapons won't stop it. Your shields won't hold. Your ships are too slow to run. If we don't work together, we all die." The responses came quickly, but they weren't what Alexis hoped for. The 3 empires were still too divided, too suspicious. They couldn't agree on a unified response. Some wanted to negotiate with the swarm. Others wanted to fortify their borders and let other territories fall first. None of them understood the true scale of the threat. Alexis looked at Torvik and her allies. "We're going to have to do this ourselves. Wake up every human we can find. Activate every station. Prepare every weapon." "That's not enough," Torvik said quietly. "You've only found 300 humans. Even with all your technology, that's not enough to stop a galaxy-wide invasion." "I know," Alexis admitted. "That's why we need to unite the galaxy. Not through conquest or fear. Through necessity. They have the numbers. We have the knowledge. Together we might have a chance." Marcus stepped forward, and for the first time his expression wasn't angry. It was afraid. "You really think we can win?" "I don't know," Alexis said honestly. "But I know we have to try. Because that's what humans do. We face the impossible, and we fight anyway. She looked around the room at her fellow humans, at Torvik and Zin and Mira and Krell, at the view screen showing the approaching doom. Send the recall signal to all stations. Wake everyone up. And prepare every ship we have. We're going to need them all. The swarm was coming, and the galaxy, ready or not, was about to remember why humanity had been so important. Not because they were conquerors, but because they were defenders. The first swarm ships hit the outer colonies 3 weeks after Alexis sent her warning. They came like locusts, consuming everything in their path. 14 worlds went dark in the first week. 7 million people dead or assimilated. The galaxy panicked. Suddenly, the 3 empires stopped arguing about who should lead. They stopped fighting over borders and resources. When faced with extinction, old grievances didn't matter anymore. Alexis stood in the command center of Station Osiris, now the hub of a growing network of awakened human facilities. Around her, holographic displays showed representatives from all 3 empires, plus dozens of smaller independent governments. We need a unified command structure, a Vryn admiral was saying, but we cannot agree on who should lead. Let the human lead, a Kelthran council member suggested. They have fought this enemy before. The Soraks will not follow a human commander, a reptilian general growled. We barely know them. Alexis listened to them argue for the 100th time. Every meeting went the same way. Everyone agreed they needed to work together, but nobody wanted to give up control. Finally, she had enough. Stop, she said, her voice cutting through the argument.
Just stop.
You're all so focused on who's in charge that you're forgetting the point. This isn't about command. It's about survival. She pulled up a tactical display showing the swarm's advance. In 2 months, they'll reach the core systems. The Vryn Concordat, the Kelthran Republic, the Sorax Dominion, all of you. They don't care about your politics. They'll consume you all equally. So what do you suggest? The Sorax general demanded. We don't need one commander, Alexis said. We need a council. Representatives from every major power working together. Each species contributes what they do best. The Vryn have numbers and coordination. The Kelthrans have advanced sensors and communications. The Sorax have skilled soldiers and tactical experience. Humans have the technology and knowledge. She gestured to Torvik, Zin, Mira, and Krell, who stood beside her. These 4 have been helping me for months. They're proof that cooperation works. Let them be your representatives. They know how to work together. There was resistance at first, but desperation won out. Within a week, the Galactic Defense Council was formed. It wasn't perfect. There were still arguments and mistrust. But it was a start. Meanwhile, Alexis had woken up every human she could find. Across the galaxy, ancient sleeper stations powered up and released their occupants. Engineers, scientists, doctors, soldiers, teachers. 5,000 humans in total, each one bringing knowledge the galaxy desperately needed. But 5,000 people couldn't save a galaxy alone. So Alexis did something that would have been unthinkable during humanity's reign. She shared everything. The entire human database, millennia of accumulated knowledge, was transmitted freely to every species. No restrictions. No payment required. You're giving them everything, Marcus said, watching as the data flowed out. He had come around after seeing the swarm's destruction, but he still had doubts. What if they use it against us later? Then we'll deal with it later, Alexis replied. Right now, knowledge is the only weapon we have enough of to go around. The galaxy transformed with shocking speed. Vryn engineers used human manufacturing techniques to build weapons in days instead of months. Kelthran scientists improved shield technology by combining human and crystalline physics. Sorax soldiers trained in human tactics, learning to fight smarter instead of just harder. For the first time in thousands of years, the galaxy worked together. The final confrontation came at the nexus point, a cluster of star systems that served as the gateway to the core territories. If the swarm took the nexus, they would have a clear path to 1,000 inhabited worlds. The combined fleet gathered there, 15,000 warships from every species, plus 50 reactivated human stations that could move through space. It was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. But the swarm brought more. 30,000 vessels, each one designed for one purpose: consumption and destruction. Alexis stood on the bridge of Station Osiris, surrounded by humans and aliens working side by side. The mood was tense but determined. "This is it," she said quietly. "Everything we've worked for comes down to this battle." Torvik touched her shoulder. "Win or lose, you've already changed the galaxy. They'll never forget humans again." "Let's make sure there's a galaxy left to remember," Alexis replied. The battle began with a coordinated strike. Human weapons hit first, targeting the swarm's larger vessels with gravitational disruptors that tore ships apart from the inside. Then Kelthran's sensor arrays identified weak points for Sorak strike teams to exploit. Vryn fighters swarmed enemy vessels by the thousands, overwhelming point defenses through sheer numbers. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't easy. Ships died by the hundreds on both sides, but the combined fleet fought with a unity that surprised even themselves. When a human station lost its shields, Kelthran ships moved to protect it. When Vryn fighters ran out of ammunition, Sorak's carriers opened their bays to resupply them. When the enemy seemed overwhelming, human commanders shared tactics that turned the tide. They fought as one. The swarm adapted, as it always did. It learned their patterns and adjusted its approach. For every 10 enemy ships destroyed, another 20 appeared. The battle stretched from hours to days. On the third day, Alexis made a decision. "We can't win by fighting defensively. We need to strike at their core." "The core ships are protected by thousands of vessels," the Sorak's representative warned. "It would be a suicide mission." "Then I'll go alone," Alexis said. "I've already died once. Might as well make the second time count." But she didn't go alone. Marcus volunteered along with 50 other humans. Torvik, Zin, Mira, and Krell insisted on coming too. Then hundreds more volunteers stepped forward from every species. They formed a strike force unlike any other. Human stealth technology got them close. Kelthran's psychic coordination kept them in sync. Vryn numbers overwhelmed the defenders. Sorak's warriors fought with a fury that came from defending home. They punched through the swarm's defenses and reached the core vessels. These weren't just ships. They were biomechanical constructs the size of cities, the intelligence that controlled the entire invasion. Alexis led the team inside, fighting through corridors of twisted metal and organic matter. They planted human fusion charges in critical points, bombs powerful enough to tear apart the massive structures. But getting out wasn't going to be easy. "Everyone evacuate," Alexis ordered. "I'll trigger the charges manually." "Not happening," Marcus said firmly. The other humans nodded in agreement. "We came together," Torvik added. "We leave together." So they ran, all of them fighting their way back to the ships. Behind them, the fusion charges detonated in a chain reaction. The core vessels tore themselves apart, and without their controlling intelligence, the swarm fleet faltered. The combined galactic fleet pressed the advantage. What had been a desperate defense became a rout. The swarm ships, now uncoordinated, fell one by one. By the end of the fourth day, it was over. The swarm was destroyed. 5 months later, Alexis stood in a new station built by human and alien engineers working together. It wasn't as advanced as the old human stations, but it was something better. It represented cooperation, unity. The Galactic Defense Council had become permanent. The three empires still existed, but they worked together now. Borders were still debated, but peacefully. Slavery was being abolished across Sorak space. The Vryn were learning to value individual thought alongside collective harmony. The Kelthrans had opened their borders to trade and cultural exchange. It wasn't perfect. There were still problems, still conflicts. But there was hope. Marcus found Alexis in the observation deck watching construction drones build new ships. "Strange, isn't it?" he said. "We spent so long trying to preserve what humans were. Now we're building something new." "That's how it should be," Alexis replied. "We weren't meant to be a time capsule. We were meant to be a seed, something that could grow into something greater." Below them, humans and aliens worked side by side, teaching, learning, building together. The galaxy had forgotten what humans were like. That had been painful, even tragic. But maybe it was also an opportunity. They didn't have to recreate the old human empire. They could help build something better, a true galactic community, where every species contributed and every voice mattered. "So what now?" Marcus asked. Alexis smiled. "Now we keep building. We keep teaching. We keep hoping. That's what humans do." Around them, the new galaxy took its first steps into an uncertain future. But for the first time in thousands of years, those steps were taken together, and that made all the difference.